Let's welcome in our next guest, Ian Eagle, who is nice enough to give us some time. NFL on CBS, where you know him from, has Bengals-Browns for Week 1. Ian, we appreciate it, but these guys aren't really going to understand what I'm about to go with here. How the Brooklyn Nets looking this year, huh? How the Brooklyn Nets looking?
We're getting priorities in order, aren't
That's
we?
right.
Like, everybody's focused on the NFL, and you want to know if Darius Baisley is going to be a good fit
right.
for the Brooklyn Nets.
That's
where we're at. I love it.
I'm our lead NBA guy, so I have a curiosity. So, all right, let's start with the game you've got this weekend, Bengals-Browns. From what you've been getting ready for this game, I wanted to start with Cleveland. I've kind of called them the fly in the ointment in the AFC North. What are your expectations for Cleveland, and what have you seen from Deshaun Watson that would make you think one way or the other?
Yeah, highly competitive division. I think Cincinnati is among the upper echelon teams in the NFL. You've got a Baltimore team with Lamar Jackson now signed, sealed, delivered, some improvements in the receiving game. So you presume that's a team that's going to be a factor come December. Pittsburgh has been the sneaky, sexy pick once the preseason got underway. I thought they were flying under the radar, and then all of a sudden Mike Tomlin plays his starters. Kenny Pickett looks like gold. The chemistry with Pickens, everybody's jumped on board. And then there's Cleveland, a team that won 7 games last year. Obviously, a very slippery slope in what they did at the quarterback position, paying Deshaun Watson guaranteed money, 11-game suspension. And he comes back, and he doesn't look like the Deshaun Watson that we remembered from 2020 before the basic 2-year hiatus. So that's the question. If he can recapture his form, if he is the player that we saw developing in Houston into one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, Cleveland's got pieces. Their offensive line is top 5 in the NFL. They make a change at defensive coordinator with Jim Schwartz, so you're going to see an aggressive mentality. And they've got Nick Chubb, stud running back. So I think there are Browns fans that believe if Deshaun Watson is who they think he could be, this might be one of those celebratory seasons for the Browns.
And before we get started, I was told by my producer, I have to say Jim Nantz does a tremendous job. As you recall, last time I went off on that, but that's another story. So, anyway, I was praising Ian. He couldn't actually acknowledge it. He went with the full congressional run for office there. He just didn't say anything. I appreciate it.
At least you're doing exactly what Dustin told you not to do.
I wanted to annoy him. That's why I did it. But anyway, this Browns team has had some good success against the Bengals. What do you think it is about Cleveland that they've been so successful about Cincinnati? We know the talent is there on both sides for both teams, but it just seems like they have their number a little bit more so than people would realize if they don't look at the numbers of the past.
Yeah, I should mention I did win my local assemblyman contest. That was last September, so I'm considering running again. We'll see what the polls say. I think when you're familiar with someone, sometimes you can throw out some of the trends and some of the numbers. There's a certain air of familiarity between these two franchises that goes way, way back. And while none of it matters from the 1970s, the 1980s, and the 1990s, and the aughts, this current version, for whatever reason, Kevin Stefanski has found some things that work against a Cincinnati team that has been the more consistent franchise the last couple of years. What's the difference? Well, the Bengals now have some mystique. They've got 3 tremendous wide receivers, maybe the best troika in the NFL, and they've got Joe Burrow. They've got a quarterback that, as long as they can figure out the contract situation, they should be good for a very long time. The issue with the Bengals last year, if you remember, offensive line, they addressed that. They go out and make a huge splash in free agency, getting Orlando Brown Jr. They sign him to a big contract. The questions might come at tight end, whether or not they believe in Irv Smith Jr., and then some changes at safety. And these are guys that they're now going to lean on, and Dax Hill, a second-year safety, and then Nick Scott, who was originally a 7th-round draft pick of the Rams, and they paid him good money to step in and replace guys that had been proven. So if you're looking for some openings there with Cincinnati, there aren't a whole lot, but that might be the area in which there could be some vulnerabilities moving forward.
Iron Eagle with us, NFL and CBS. Maybe one of the vulnerabilities as well, and it was weird. Joe Burrow actually spoke to this before he got injured in the offseason, would be a slow start, right, with Burrow having to deal with what he did before getting the season started. What are your expectations for Burrow coming off of an injury like that? Because we talk about history, right? Well, the Bengals, as Burrow noted, do have a history of slow starts.
They do, and I had that game last year. It was Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, one of the stranger opening season games I've done, and I've done a bunch of them, but that was one that stood out. Nobody could make a kick. You had a snapper go down with an injury, which is a rarity, so you had a backup snapper, which affected the outcome of the game, and Pittsburgh slipped by with an OT win over Cincinnati. They backed it up with a loss in Dallas, and everybody was starting to question the Bengals, how this team was responding after going to the Super Bowl and going through maybe some of the lumps of having a target on your back. But look at what they did last season. Look at what they did in the playoffs. They were a play away, basically, from going to the Super Bowl again. And then who knows if they're playing Philadelphia in the Super Bowl, if their experience may have been enough to get them over the top. So the margins are so slim when you get to this level of team. The Kansas Cities, the Cincinnatis, the Buffaloes. Those are the three teams that we put in a certain classification. And then there's that next level of, at least in the AFC, of teams that could be in the hunt if things go a certain way. That's where the Jets pop in. That's where the Chargers may pop in. And then you get opinions based on who you root for and what kind of teams you like to be a real January NFL team. But I think Joe Burrow is going to be just fine. They're not going to push it here in week one. There's a reason why they've kept it quiet, and odds are you're going to see him there Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock Eastern.
You mentioned the Jets. You call preseason games for them. Tell me what you like about this team and one or two areas of concern for you.
A lot of confidence from the group going in there, talking to them, talking to the head coach, having a sit down with Aaron Rodgers. There's a real belief that they have something. Now, look, we all have watched Hard Knocks through the years. It's hard not to like the team that's featured in Hard Knocks, and we tend to maybe pay a little more attention the first few weeks to see if it actually translates to the field. The difference for me is that I actually got to see behind the scenes, and it wasn't just a dramatic editing of what's happening. It was a real depiction of what this team believes. They're embracing the expectations. They're not shying away from them. They're not tempering them with every press conference. And Aaron Rodgers has brought a real sense of purpose and likability, which I think maybe was the biggest surprise of everybody out there. How was he going to handle it? This is a really young team, but it's a young and talented team. So I think they recognize the window is now. This is not, hey, let's plan for 2025, 26. They're trying to win now. And that mentality will lead you to make decisions like acquiring Dalvin Cook and shoring up your running back room. The offensive line, that's going to be the one area of concern. Dwayne Brown on the left side, Mekhi Becton on the right side. To me, if you're looking for an Achilles heel, that's the one that could bring this thing down like a house of cards, because if you can't protect Aaron Rodgers, you're not winning at the level that they're expecting to.
We'll get you out of here on this last minute or so. You called the Jets games. What'd you think of Bryce Young in that game?
That game, if you remember that Carolina game, he didn't do a whole lot.
Yep.
They kept it very vanilla. The Jets definitely wanted to make him feel them, and there was a real get-to-the-quarterback mentality. Everything I heard talking to the people associated with the Panthers has been positive, that there's a maturity there. There's a leadership that you can just tell and a presence. But you guys know, I know, it's all comes down to what you do on the field. At that position, in this stage of your career, the results are what dictates how people feel about you. You get a little bit of a honeymoon, and then at some point, the fans, the media, management, coaches, teammates, they want to actually see it. They want to see it on film.
Iron Eagle. Hey, we're looking forward to hearing your voice this weekend. Thank you for the time, sir. We appreciate it.
Guys, you got it. Also, we should mention Kenny Albert's book. You should get another pop.
There you go. I like it. All right. Appreciate it, man.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.